Hey guys, Daz here from Turtle Reformation. Now in today's video tutorial, we're going to be teaching you how to improve the dynamics of your kick. In fact, to be honest, the real take-home message of this video is to hopefully plant a seed to get you guys to think a little bit differently about your approach to training and what are you doing when it comes to strength training. When we look at the elite level, AFL, VFL, and all the way down even to your suburban football, we're still seeing some of the strength and conditioning coaches still applying very old school Olympic strength training moves. So what we're talking about there is still very heavy squats, very heavy deadlifts, even to the old school leg extension machines and leg curls. What that really does when we think about it, number one, if we're using heavy weights that go through the spine, we're compressing the spine as much as we can, and we're reducing the amount of range that we actually have when it comes to what's called our oblique slings, okay? And when we start to move into the transverse plane of movement, the old school Olympic stuff that we're talking about just then in terms of the squats and that's such a sagittal plane of movement. It's just straight up and down. But let's think about AFL in general. It is such a dynamic sport. You think about the positions that you get into, the ability to be able to quickly change positions, and the power of the kick, which we're going to look at today. Is that Olympic style of training really actually helping that? Let's see if we can open up some minds here with this one. So we're going to look at the dynamics of the kick. Now, we're actually going to be introducing to you guys the fascial network. If you're new to the fascial network and you never really heard of it before, I definitely highly recommend checking out Thomas Myers and his anatomy trained system to understand a little bit more about our fascial system. But just as a quick one, if you are new to this, what I want you to imagine is that the fascial network covers the whole body, superficially just under the skin, right down to the bone. Think of it as like a spider web that is also like a hydraulic pump and also helps us create a beautiful elastic style of moving. So when we get our fascial tissue activated and moving in a really, really great fashion, you can actually perform better. You're going to have more ability to move quicker, more powerful with your movements, faster, you name it. It's very, very essential to be looking at our fascial network. In particular, we're going to be looking at one of the fascial lines today, which is what's called the spiral line. But also too, we're going to look at some of the back sort of fascial functional lines in particular. Now, let's just look at the actual action of a kick. The kick itself is very dynamic, okay? It is not dead straight. So when we go back to that straight sagittal plane of the squats and leg extensions, you don't kick a ball like this. You wind it up, you open up, you're creating lots of rotation following through with a kick. So let's break it down a little bit more. These fascial lines we're talking about, I want you to imagine a bit of a fascial network, for example. We're going to look at what's called the posterior oblique sling. Imagine a fascial network running, for example, the left shoulder down to the right glute. And what that does, if that was to contract, it will shorten that line. So it'll bring the left shoulder down to the right glute and vice versa. And then at the same time, if we can contract the anterior, which is the opposite side, it's going to pull us around. So how does that apply when it comes to the actual kick itself? Well, we actually create the posterior oblique sling is what will drive the first phase of the movement. Now, that first phase of the movement is an actual hyperextension of your hip. I'm right-footed, so I'm going to show you guys what it looks like from my side. So if I'm actually going to initiate the kick, it comes from a hyperextension, so my glute and part of my back line is driving that first phase of the movement, and then the upper part, in terms of the posterior oblique sling in the upper body, opens up through there. Now with my belly button in, that should create at the same time what's called a beautiful eccentric loading of that anterior oblique sling from here to here, okay? Now, like an elastic band, if that was to pre-stretch and then let go, we've got a very powerful form of dynamic movements. So, I'm going to give you guys a very quick exercise. This is one of many, by the way, that we can actually use that almost mimics the first phase of the kick that activates the posterior oblique sling. So I've got a cable machine here. I am grabbing it again. I'm right-footed, so I'm gonna hold it with my left hand. Swap it around, obviously, if you're a lefty. I'm gonna start with my right foot forward. I'm gonna make sure my transverse abdominis is activated and I'm trying to decompress my spine, open up my rib cage and my thoracic part of the spine. Very, very essential when it comes to performance of an athlete. I'm actually gonna let that band just slightly rotate me to the right as well, and I've actually pre-stretched that posterior oblique sling. So from there, I'm actually going to try and engage that same initial action where we're trying to drive off that foot to create a hyperextension to get that glute to do its job to propel us forward, first phase of the movement. At the same time, I'm going to also bring my arm up and I'm going to bring these slings together. They're actually going to work together. So from there, as I drive off my right foot, I'm going to pull up at the same time and rotate to the left, keeping TVA in and trying to keep that hyperextension through there. And then I will bring it back. So that will look like that first phase of the kick. I'm getting a beautiful eccentric loading through here, but more importantly, I'm getting that concentric loading of my posterior oblique sling. So that would be the first phase. We would work on that, obviously both sides. To be a great player, you've got to be good on both sides. It's our Sammy Mitchell. And that's just one little move that you can start to incorporate into your training program to start getting this contralateral reciprocation, which is part of your running. If you're stuck in the old school Olympic forms of stuff, what we're seeing is a lot of athletes now just getting compressed. They're going into kyphotic positions through here, and it's really going to hinder them when it comes to their ability to be able to run fast, but also to get enough air in when they're running as well. So they're probably going to run out of steam a lot quicker too. So they're not at their full potential. So that's just one example. When we do it with our athletes, there's a little bit more to it in terms of we can create some more tension through the lines, but hopefully that helps. If you're someone that really wants to get ahead in your sport and try and really take it to another level, make sure you let us know. We will definitely be able to help you out. If you know of someone who might benefit from this information, please send it to them. Hit like and let us know what you think. But there's more to this. And our job now is to start to take these elites, not even just elite, this is just someone who actually wants to improve their game in general, and take it on a different journey to open your eyes up to more of the understanding of the body in terms of the fascial tissue for sure, and how dynamic and awesome it really is when we start applying it to your training. So I hope you guys like that video. Stay tuned, we'll bring some more in to improve the dynamics of your kick. We'll also look at a couple other things of how to work on agility and speed in all different planes of movement. So I hope you like that. I'm Darren Cox from Turtle Reef Formation. I'll see you guys in the next one.